I say don't bet on me unless you're paying me some percentage. I'm doing all the work. That's how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Like, I work my ass off every day. You know, I'm trying to support a family with this, and I think they should put some type of clause, like 3 or 5% of what you make goes to the fighter. You know, so that's how I think they should do it, because we're the ones putting our lives on the line. We're the ones, sacrificing everything, training all day long, losing a social life, all that type of stuff. So yeah, if you're betting on me, I want some of it.
Bold words from a guy who just a few days later would find himself dead center in one of the wildest betting scandals in UFC history on the fight weekend of Dolgarin versus Delva. Something happened that even Vegas raised an eyebrow at. The betting lines shifted so drastically that several sportsbooks suddenly said, nope, we're voiding all bets. Then came the fight. First round, and Dolgarian looked like he had ordered his skills on Wish. Hesitant, slow, lost. The result? A lightning-fast loss, followed by an instant UFC release. Coincidence? In the UFC this week? Never. And then the story exploded. Rumors started circulating that the FBI warned the UFC not about one fight, not 5, but up to 100 potentially fixed fights this year alone. And allegedly even a referee might be involved. If that's true, we're not talking drama. This is an earthquake in the shape of an octagon. There's suspicious. And then there's this. Dahlgren was a clear favorite just days before the fight, and then boom, hours before the walkout, the lines completely melted down. Massive money suddenly flooded onto his opponent so heavily that sportsbooks hit the brakes and refunded everything. And sorry, but that's not how randomness behaves. That's how insider knowledge behaves. And the fight itself, that wasn't MMA. That was a system failure in real time. He shot for a takedown like someone who's never drilled a hip throw in his life. The moment his back was taken, frozen. No hand fighting, no urgency, no defense. He didn't tap like a fighter in danger. He tapped like someone who saw the moment coming. And yes, the MMA world loves to yell, fix. But let's be real. Conor versus Cowboy was business, not cheating. Jones versus Gain was a skill gap. Robbie versus Price was chaos, but real. This wasn't a loss. This was a predetermined outcome wearing fight gloves. If this fight could talk, it would have said, don't score the fight, just send the payment. So be honest. Either Dolgarian tipped off his circle with bet everything on the other guy, or there's a chat log out there that's keeping him awake at night. The odds explosion, the performance, the timing. This wasn't a bad night at the office. This was a red flag on every possible steroid. And the irony, he started the week saying, bettors owe me a percentage, and ended it as, face of a betting scandal with a career exit package. The timing was worse than a flying knee in the clinch. Then Michael Chiesa summed it up perfectly.
But a lot of like day one mistakes. I mean, you can even hear in the broadcast, like, what is this guy doing? I mean, you peel the top hand, you don't punch behind you. That is the most useless strike you could possibly throw. I'm sitting here on the pre-show hyping you up as a guy that could go into the top 5 and win fights. And it doesn't even look like you could fight somebody in the bottom of the top 500. I got to be honest here. That was a F- performance. It was absolute trash.
Short, brutal, and exactly what everyone was thinking. And as easy as it is to joke about Chiesa, this time he wasn't wrong. Let's think about this logically. A professional fighter who went 7 for 8 and earned a UFC contract suddenly forgets how to defend a rear naked choke? It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't bad luck. It looked like someone pulled his power cord mid-fight. That's not incompetence. That's weird. Very weird. And the sportsbooks agreed. Caesars and William Hill refunded bets. DraftKings launched an investigation. And then the least surprising headline of all dropped. The UFC cuts Dolgarian. No warning. No second chance. Just thanks for coming. There's the door. And if all of this feels familiar, it's because we've seen this pattern before. Massive late betting shifts. One-sided fights that end instantly. A losing fighter who barely tries to survive. And the wildest part? The central figure now, and back then, share a connection. Both trained under James Krause.
And then, tell me where you train. You're based in the Midwest, Kansas City, I believe, or?
I originally started training in Kansas City. At Glory MMA, and now I'm out in Denver, Colorado at Factory X, under Coach Mark Montoya.
Does Glory MMA exist anymore, or did James have to shut the whole thing down?
Yeah, they exist. I don't know any fighters. There's no UFC fighters there, but they still do their cardio kickbox and teach people how to fight and stuff. So.
You keep in touch with them anymore, or did everyone just distance themselves? I see you selling real estate or something like that.
And I was told I'm not supposed to be in contact.
Oh.
That's all I really know. I just moved out here. I just moved out here to Denver, and start training under Mark Montoya, and just kind of stay in my lane out here.
Formerly Glory MMA in Kansas City, now Factory X in Denver. And then the quote that said everything without saying anything. I was told to have no contact anymore. Translated from MMA. Don't talk about this. Just walk away. If you're not familiar with James Krause, this wasn't just some coach. This was the guy who changed MMA betting history for all the wrong reasons. Trainer, betting advisor, Discord tip king. A man who publicly said he made more money gambling than fighting. A man who ran a paid Discord where he allegedly dropped insider info, including fighter injuries. The fallout, FBI investigation, lifetime UFC ban, Discord deleted, career erased. And now Dolgarian stands in that same shadow, same gym roots, same aftertaste, same uncomfortable questions. Coincidence? In MMA? In this story, number. And now it gets even more uncomfortable. No one is saying he copied Krause's playbook, but the patterns rhyme a little too well. And as if the story needed more gasoline, the next rumor hit. The FBI didn't just warn the UFC about a few fights, but up to 100 suspicious bouts this year alone. 100. That wouldn't be a scandal. That would be a structural crisis. Are these confirmed facts? Number. But does it sound impossible? Not anymore. 25% of UFC fights fixed? That would be absurd. But more than we realize? Absolutely believable. And let's be honest, every confirmed fix so far, Dolgarin, Minner, Taehyun Bang, wasn't exposed because the UFC cracked a case. They were caught because they did it in the dumbest way imaginable. The amateurs get caught. The professionals never make the headline, and that's what makes the rumors hit too close to home. Then it spread even further. The whispers stopped being just about fighters. Now officials were being pulled into the conversation. One name got thrown around louder than others. Referee Jason Herzog. Hold on, is that confirmed? Number. But the fact his name even enters the conversation shows where trust currently stands. And honestly, if fights were manipulated, would refs be the most likely suspects? Or the judges who score every round however they see fit? Some of these scorecards make fixing theories sound more believable than the actual fights. If the UFC truly scripted outcomes, do you think Bilal Muhammad would be champ? Do you think Conor would still be sidelined? Do you think O'Malley wouldn't be on a lifetime title run? Exactly. The more realistic scenario, not everyone is corrupt, but someone is. Someone with access, someone with influence, someone with bad judgment or bad finances. Corruption? Maybe. Incompetence? Definitely. And right now, the difference is hard to spot. Judges look strategically bad. Refs just look naturally bad. But MMA isn't alone here. The NBA had FBI betting probes. The NFL had gambling suspensions in 2023. Now the UFC is stepping into the same minefield. And let's be real, if multi-million-dollar athletes can't resist the temptation, what about fighters scraping to pay rent? It doesn't justify it, but it explains it. And the system makes it easy. A fighter never has to place the bet. Friends, teammates, cousins can do that. Bad performances always have plausible excuses. Bad weight cut, old injury, bad camp. But in this case, no excuses fit. The timing, the odds, the performance, all point one direction. That wasn't a mistake. That was a decision. And this story isn't ending. It's just getting darker. But while the internet speculates, one man made the consequences very clear.
What were they talking about? Somebody was saying, well, what's the UFC going to do? We let these guys know not to bet on fights. Do you know what the outcome of this is? Like, if I penalize them, you get cut. They're going to go to fucking federal prison. Federal fucking prison. If you're that fucking stupid and somebody else wants to do it, knock yourself out. There's not enough money in it to ruin your life and not go to jail. Go to federal prison.
And for once, Dana isn't exaggerating. Fast money is tempting. Federal prison, a destroyed career, and a permanent stain. No payday is worth that. Now the ball isn't in the UFC's court or the fans or the sportsbooks. It's in the hands of investigators. We just get to watch the dominoes fall, and they're falling loud. If this breakdown made you think, shocked you, or just left you saying, this is insane, hit like, drop your theory, and follow, because if you think this is peak UFC madness, trust me, the next chapter gets even crazier, and we will talk about it very soon.